Hello and welcome to another video. It's me, Steve, and the channel is Mad About Hoovers, because on this channel we are really mad about Hoovers. Now yesterday we did a review on the Vax, the red model, which was the Energised Pulse Pet, and on that review I said that the next one I was going to do, I was going to be bringing down this one from the loft, which I've had for, I mean this one must be nearly 2013, 2012, 2013. I bought this in early 2013 if I remember rightly. So this one's about 4 years old now, and it's the second one that I've had of these machines. The other one was the Total Home version. This is the Mach-R, by the way. It's the first generation, which is the first ones they brought out, and these are a very long-running machine. Argos still sells, apparently, the next version along to this, which was sort of the next model. I think they don't make them in this particular style anymore, but it's been upgraded now, and it looks very similar, but at the end of the day, they are pretty much the same inside the Cyclone unit, so they haven't really changed a lot there. And I sold the Total Home version to somebody else, so this is the only one I've got left now of the Vax Mach-R. So the one that's been done earlier on my channel, which was way back in 2014, I don't have that machine anymore. I actually kept this one. One of the reasons why I kept this one is because there's problems with it, and I can't really sell it to somebody else in the state that it's in. And we're going to be discussing on this video, we're sort of going to do a review on it, look at the cleaner in detail, and we're going to discuss the reasons why this machine's had problems. And it seemed to be quite a common problem as well that it had, because I've seen people on the reviews saying exactly the same thing that I found that was a problem with these machines. Vax has sold thousands and thousands and thousands of these machines. It's one of the most reviewed items on Argos's website, or was. I think there's been over 2,000 or something reviews for these. The Mach-R Reach. It was, I would have said, the most popular model they ever sold. There was a lower model in the range, which was the basic one, which was like it had an orange shroud inside, and it had the orange colouring, and it only had a very short hose. In other words, it was the basic, but most people went for this one because usually it was on special offer, and originally when they came out they were $279.99 or something ridiculous, and obviously no one's going to buy them for that much, are they? And then within a few months, Argos had reduced the prices to, you know, you could get these for £120, and then they ended up being $99.99, and that's what I paid for this, £99.99. I'd originally got the red one, and that was 120 quid. That was £119.99. I did the review of that one. I was quite pleased with it, to be honest. It was one of the better Vaxes I'd bought. This is why I bought this one as well. I thought, well, I might as well get another one while they're on this $99.99. And the problem was this had issues. The build quality on this wasn't up to the same build quality that the original red one that I had was, the Total Home version. And the only difference between them is the tools that get supplied with them. The machine essentially is pretty much the same, just it got a different coloured shroud and a different coloured trim. But the Total Home came with a few extra additional tools, like a flexible long crevice tool, and it had a mattress tool. There was something else it came with, I think it was a mattress tool, something like that, and the standard tools. This one came with the extra long hose and the turbo brush, the mini turbo tool, and it obviously had the combination tool on the back. So the selling point of this was it was a long stretch hose, basically. So what we'll do, we'll get the camera off the top here, and we'll have a look at this machine, because this really, I mean, it was one of Vax's. It was one of their most successful machines, in all honesty. They sold a huge amount of these, and they said originally that they were going to give a 6-year warranty with it. But I thought, well, you know, that's not really worth much, is it? As soon as you ring them up, they'll say you've broken it, or you've abused it, or you haven't used it according to the instructions, and blah blah blah. They always try every way possible to get out of paying up, or not paying up, to honouring the guarantee. I don't think it's like Dice. I think they just send you a new one out if something goes wrong, but I don't know about Vax. I've never really made a claim on the warranty for these. I've usually tried to solve the issues that I've had with them myself. Maybe I was stupid, maybe I should have gone with the warranty on it, but you get fed up of ringing up all the time, oh, this is wrong with it, that's wrong with it, and this is wrong, and in the end they just think you're a nuisance. Because if Vax knew at the time then how many machines I'd got, they'd think, well, why have you got so many machines? You know. But anyway, this is the Mach-R Reach, and it was dubbed, when it was launched, as the lightest full-size multi-cyclonic upright in the world. It weighs just over 5 kilos, so this was a really big selling point, that people could pick these up really, really easily. And when I first got one, I was actually quite impressed with it. I thought, what a nice little machine this is, even if it is made in China. Because this is a twin motor machine. It's got a motor in the bottom and it's got a suction motor in the top. So you can use the brush roll independently of the motor, which is a good idea if you want to go on hard floors. But that's an issue I'll be discussing a little bit later on. So anyway, what do we get with the Mach-R Reach? No, instantly there. It's sort of listed over there, so I'll have to remove that off there because it's not designed to be stored on the side. Well, I suppose you could do if it's in a cupboard or something, just stick the turbo tool on there, but it doesn't have its own dedicated space on the machine. Okay. So, here's the handle. On these, it was a fully adjustable handle, telescopic, which you just push down on that little button there, and then you could pull the handle up to suit however tall you were. And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. It's a metal pole. It's a little bit wobbly on the top from side to side, but aren't most cleaners these days? I mean, so's that. On the bottom here, you have a release button, and when you press that and lift up, the whole thing comes out and doubles up basically as a wand. And you clip your hose on the end of there, which I'll be doing a bit later on. So that's the handle, which doubles up as the pole. The term reach that they applied to it meant as well is that it had a long reach, and it has. It's got a 10-metre cable on the back. The trouble is, it takes you forever to wind it up onto these cord hooks because they're quite close together. You know, so it can take a little while to wind the cable round. In the middle of the cable is the multi-purpose tool. Now, on the review I did yesterday, I said, you know, that other models of Vax stored theirs in between here, and this one does. So that energised pulse, they could have quite easily put a clip for the tool here, because it's been done before. So we just pull that tool off, and it's the standard multi-tool that was supplied with most Vaxes. And I think it may well still be. And all we do with that is we just slide, and it's a little bit stiff, this one. You can just slide up the brush like that onto the end, or you can take that off altogether and turn it round and use it with this end on, which is supposed to be the upholstery tool, and in my opinion that's not very good. So let's take the cable off the back. Incidentally, the cable comes out of the machine just here, so it's not one of these where it's down at the bottom. This is halfway up, which is it's not too bad there. And they supply a cord hook here, so that you can put your cable through there when you're using it, and that's good as well. So this machine's been a little bit better thought out than the other Vax I reviewed yesterday. Maybe that's why they sold a lot more of these. So let's take the cable off and we can use the quick release, pull the cable down. We'll be doing a big mess test on this as well, but that's going to be in the next video. This is just like the review and showing the machine, and then the next video we're going to do, I will put the big mess test down on the carpet and we'll see how this copes with it, because I got a feeling it won't be able to cope with it. When I put the big mess test out, there's not many cleaners that can actually pick it up without clogging up. The cylinders can, usually. The ones without turbo brushes on, if you use a straight suction head, they'll pick them up, but I don't know about this. So on the side going down, we've got the hose. This is basically the hose that you get with every machine, and if you'd have bought the orange model, you'd have got this hose on but not the stretch hose, the additional one on the side. So that basically pulls out to the bottom of here at the back, and then it is very short. It's very short indeed. I mean, there you can see the entire length of it. That's how high it stretches up from the cleaner to there. So if you wanted the longer reach, you'd have to have the air reach or the total home. And a lot of people complained when they bought the orange model that the hose was too short, but that's just how it was sold, like that. So basically it clipped onto the bottom of the floor head here, and people complained about that as well, saying that, you know, it's difficult when you've got bad legs and bad knees to stoop right down to the floor to be able to put the hose back in when you've used it. And I do agree, it is a bit tricky. Because or what you could have done was pull the machine over like this and then put the hose in, but people obviously didn't want to do that. So there were complaints about that. There were complaints about how the hose plugged in at the bottom. And later models, what they did, they changed it from here, and they put the hose clip on the side there. So they slightly modified the floor head on the later ones. So rather than being in the back, it was just plugged in here. But it's actually better plugged in the back, to be honest, because when I turn it over and we look at the base, what we got is the entrance to the brush roll here. There on the bottom we can see where the hose comes in. It comes in the middle. And then what it does, it splits here and branches one side down to here and the other side down to there. And I'm not sure whether the camera can actually see. There's a hole there and another one just behind there. So we've actually got two entrances from the brush roll head into the hose. So there was less chance of this clogging. So anything basically it picked over on this side of the belt went up that channel, and what was on this side of the belt went up that channel. And I thought that was a good idea. The brush roll itself is only very small. It's a miniature brush roll. It's got very, very soft bristles on here. They're not very stiff at all. And I was a bit dubious about how well is this going to clean the carpet. You know, is it going to be a deep down clean with these? So what we're going to do with the big mess test is we're going to use this, and afterwards I'm going to go over it with the Dyson. We're going to see what this leaves behind. Because a lot of people on the reviews said, you know, they were glad they bought one of these because it was so much cheaper than a Dyson and better than a Dyson. But is it? Yeah, there's the question. So here's the stock label. It looks like the production date on that one is 03/13. So it looks like March 2013 when that was made. So that would figure, because I know I bought this in 2013. You've got two roller wheels, one there, one on the other side, and here's the rubber coated large wheels on the back, which do seem a bit stiff now because it's got a bit old now. It has been used a fair bit as well. As you can see how dirty the hose is inside. I've really given this a good grilling over its life. So let's just stand it up again. Right, so with the front, if you wanted to clean the brush roll easily, you've got a clip here, and you just lift that clip up from the back, lift this clip up from the back, and then you can pull the top off the brush roll, like so. And that'll give you access to the brush roll, and I thought that was a good idea as well, because later models didn't do that. So that was a selling point there for the early machines. Let's just put that back on. So if you did get a clog in the brush roll area, you were able just to take off the top of here, off the brush roll housing, and then clear your blockage or get your hair off your brush roll and then clip it back on. It's as simple as that. Underneath here we've got the post motor filter, the exhaust filter. So if I just take off the canister like so, we can lift off this filter by pressing that button on the front and it comes off. And there we've got the post motor filter, which is blackened now with carbon dust from the motor. You can see there the pleated HEPA filter and the rubber seal around the filter itself. So the filtration wasn't too bad. We can just clip that cover back on, like so. I can't think whether that was washable or not. I have a feeling that it wasn't, to be honest. I don't think I've ever washed that filter, in all honesty. And there we can see the inlet port there where the dirt comes in, which is very similar design to the Dyson over there. That works the same way. And here on the side we can see the stretch hose which was supplied, and it just pulls out of the bottom like so. And with that on, it'll go up the stairs, and it actually will. That's when it doesn't break, because this hose had a problem, and I'll go into that in a sec. But that was the hose. Now this is the canister, just here. We've got multi-cyclonic canister, cyclones in there. It's not a single cyclone, and the filtration and separation on this is actually very good. It's very good indeed. And this is the design that they're using now on current machines. These are what they're putting in most of the cheap machines now, this multi-cyclonic cyclone system, because they know that most of the time, when it's made right, it works. And the total home version I had, it did work, and hardly ever had to clean that filter in the top. So the filter, all we do is we'd turn the bin, lift it off, and pull the filter out like so. And the filter's fairly clean there. I mean, I have washed that quite recently. But there's the multi-cyclones in the bottom of there, and you can see the light through there as it goes down to the bottom of the bin, and it's empty at the moment. Now here is where we had the first problem, basically. In one of these systems, this depends on a rubber seal at the bottom of the bin there. You can see that seal, like a grommet sort of thing. And that rubber seals against the bottom of the trapdoor. Because what happens is the suction comes through the cyclones and draws the air in through those little holes in the shroud. But if that seal is not strong enough against the bottom of the container, the suction is drawn in through there instead of through there. And all that happens is, you're drawing your dirt in through there, it comes into the bin, it doesn't spin round properly. Well, it may do actually, because you're still drawing the air in. So you've got your first cyclone in the outside of the bin. But then what it was doing was getting drawn up through a big gap underneath that rubber seal. Because on this machine, that wasn't meeting the bottom door properly. So the dirt was coming in through that gap, going up the centre tube, which it shouldn't have been doing, and then it was entering the cyclone cones from the base, coming up the cyclones the wrong way and going straight into this top filter. So this filter was getting dirty very quickly, and I couldn't understand initially why that was. But basically what was happening is that this grey part here, which is the inner part of the cyclone, this is the separator part, and this bin here, this clear bin, that slots basically into the bin, and you can lift this out normally. You lift that grey part and the whole of the inside of this just lifts out. And it depends on the seal on the top here, pressing upon this part here in the bin. That part there, where my finger is now, is supposed to contact that part there and push down on top of that so that it doesn't lift away from the bottom. But it was lifting away. There was a gap between here and here. So when the machine was turned on, I could see this entire centre cyclone system moving up inside the bin slightly and creating that gap underneath that rubber seal. So what I had to do was to put sellotape, and you can see it there, all the way around the top of there, and there's the other side of the sellotape there, to hold this top the cyclone securely inside the bin. So now I can't get that out now for cleaning without taking all that sellotape off. But that was the only way to get it to work properly. So that was the first problem. It's solved now, but you know, it's not very satisfactory, and I couldn't sell it to somebody else like that. The other problem that we had with it concerned the hoses. Now, it wasn't very long of using this stretch hose, and I was using it to go up the stairs, and when I had the tool on, all of a sudden, because obviously you're turning this thing all the time, and you're using it with the tool on the end. What happened, all of a sudden, when it had turned enough, that happened, basically. And the tool, there's the pussy, look. There she goes. She's not interested in the cleaners. So, that hose kept coming off the end. And I had to put super glue on the end of here. And then I screwed it back into the socket. And obviously on these it's a reverse thread. And it did hold for some time, but then now it's come off again. And I actually think the other end does it as well. Yeah, it does. So basically the other end is exactly the same problem. It's unscrewing off the hose and it shouldn't do it. That should be tight inside there, and this should revolve but not come off. But that's what was happening with the extension hose. And it's happened to other people because I saw reviews on it that the hose ends were coming off. And now I can't get it back on. How do we get the... That's it, it's going back on now. But, you know, basically that should be tight in there. It should swivel, but it shouldn't unscrew itself off the end. I can't remember. I've got a feeling this might have done as well. That might have kept coming off. That one. So I had to put some glue. You can see the glue actually on there now. It's a bit of a mess because that one actually came off as well. They were all coming unstuck because whatever glue they'd used in the factory to secure these things in, it wasn't strong enough. And that was a problem. So there's another issue of Vax's quality control not being up to scratch again. They're producing a nice machine here, but again it's let down by these Chinese factories. Shoddy quality control. You shouldn't have hoses falling to pieces, you know, not long after the cleaner was new. But I put super glue on and thought, oh, that'll solve it now. And I never bothered ringing Vax. I thought, what's the point? They just accused me of breaking it anyway. So that was that. And that was that. So we had another problem with it as well, in that when it was new and I tilted it back like so, what was happening, because those hinges, where the head pivots on those hinges, they were very stiff. And when I was pushing this along the carpet, this was actually coming up off the carpet there. I think it was when I was pulling it back. And it was lifting itself off and not sticking to the carpet properly because these hinges were stiff. So I had to put some spray grease on those hinges to loosen them up. And now it works all right now. So that was the other issue. I mean, that's again down to quality control, that the factories aren't greasing the joints properly before they leave. And I've had this a lot on Vax as well. They've had squeaky wheels. It's almost as if they don't use grease at the factories. They don't grease the wheels, so they're squeaky and noisy. And I've noticed that, as I say, on a lot of Vax machines. When you, even on these the floor heads on cylinder cleaners with wheels on the bottom, they're squeaky and rattly. So it's down to quality control again. So let's give it a push round, because I think I've gone through its little details now, and I've said what problems it had. I mean, this only had three problems: the hose, the bin seal. But if you didn't know anything about them, you'd be forever having to keep cleaning that filter on this, and you didn't realise the reason why it was getting clogged up all the time. That was happening with the Vax Air Revolve as well, which was that green, it looked like a barrel, and you pulled the barrel along behind you. It was a very strange looking cleaner. And they were forever just clogging up the pre-motor filters because the cyclone didn't work properly. But this one, when the cyclones do work properly, and that's a proper seal, they're very good. So let's give it a push round on the floor, and then I'll end the video, and then what I'll do, I will have the big mess test. Right. So there we go. Turn it off there. So essentially, I mean, it's a really nice machine to use. It pushes across the carpet nice and easily. It doesn't have a pile adjustment on the floor head. And some people complain that it was not as easy to push across longer pile carpet, and I could understand that because there's no pile adjustment setting. But on this type, it does glide across. There isn't a problem there. Where my problem arose was on hard floor. If I take it in here, what happens basically, if I put it on the hard floor and turn it on, what happens is it just clamps itself straight to the floor and won't move. Well, it's tried to prove me wrong there because it did move, but originally I think it may be because there may be a bit of clogging in the filter and it's not quite as strong suction as it used to be. But initially what happened here, and especially in the bathroom, it just sucked the lino up to the nozzle quite hard, and then I couldn't push it because there's no variable suction. So really they're not that good for using on lino that isn't stuck down like I have here. If you've got normal floorboards or laminate or, you know, just normal stone or hardwood floor, you wouldn't have a problem with it. It's just on this type that I get the problem. So let's finish this one here and then we'll set up the big mess test for the next video. Okay, see you shortly.